Hello, John.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It
Perfect,
sounds
perfect.
it sounds that it's like incredibly late where you are right now. Am I correct in that assumption?
No, incredibly early.
Incredibly early. Even worse, right?
That
So
was
you
so
just
good.
woke as I just you just woke up, I assume, right?
Yeah, well, I just got up about like half an hour ago. It's about 6 in the morning here.
Okay. But what a way to start the day, right? Like chatting to us.
Yeah, for sure.
I am good to go whenever you guys
Yes,
are good.
I'm good to go. Like, if you want, John, we can also just chat a bit if you want before, but we can also get it started and then see as people come trickling in. And I'm very, as I said already before you joined here, I'm very excited for this call today. I mean, of course, I know what some of the alpha is that we're going to talk about, but I'm just curious about what the community is going to think of that, and also the questions they're going to have just coming out of that. So I'm very excited for everything. But if you want, we can get it started.
I'll leave it up to you guys because I'm obviously happy to chat. Well, not really, but yeah. Just kidding. But yeah, I'm always happy to have a conversation with you guys. I guess we just gotta try and stay on topic. If not, it will just take too long or get sidetracked.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, we can get it started. I think it would also be nice if, I mean, I would just ask a question, for example, in the community, who knows about KERC, for example, and what it's about. And I read a couple of no's. So I think it would be nice also to get a little intro, of course, to KERC as well. That's, I believe, always helpful for people that um, haven't heard of you before, which I
Yeah.
think is outrageous. But yeah, let's get it started. One second. Alrighty. Thank you all for coming today. Welcome to the Pillars. We are a community-led space aimed at supporting protocols and educating our investors through intelligent, meaningful conversations. Here we ask the tough questions you all want answered. Now, let me introduce to you Mr. Joyala, John, the founder and the man at the helm of KERC, KERC. As you know, and some of you might not know, so I'm going to tell you about it. KERC is a partner of the Pillars. And of course, as some of you know, also partner of the Pillars portfolio. So what that means is I'm better just going to share that in somewhere else in the community questions of the global chat, so you can read up on that. But even more exciting is the fact what KERC is about. KERC is, to me, the as I saw the hashtag recently pop up a lot, just hashtag RWA on Twitter, which stands for real world assets, is to me the pinnacle of real world assets. It's an opportunity for every crypto DeFi investor to get exposure to a billion dollar industry, which is the healthcare industry. So there's a lot to get into, and as you also can see, there's going to be some alpha that's going to be shared. So please ask away. I believe there's going to be a couple new information that's going to be thrown at you in the community. So if something is popping up immediately, just ask away, so we can answer that. Also, as you can see, $25 giveaway, of course, happening. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoys. Please ask your questions, and I'm gonna jump off the stage. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, David. John, always a pleasure to have you, and thank you very much for joining us so early.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Always. I think this AMA has been a long CE has been a long time coming.
Yes, it very much has, and it's interesting because it's with these catch-up CEEs, there are some people that might think, oh, I don't need to jump in, and it might be a typically smaller audience than you'd expect. But I'm certain that once we've discussed a few bits and pieces, people are going to be excited, and a lot of people are going to be catching the recording. Before we get into it, and before we kind of dig deep into what you guys have been working on and what's happening in the back end. Could you give a very brief overview of what it is that KERC is, and maybe just as simply as you can explain why it would be beneficial for people to get into KERC?
Yeah, for sure. I think the easiest way I can re-explain KERC all again to the new people is that KERC is, like David said, focused on real-world assets. We are a DeFi project that's focused on revenue first, assets first. Then we start building the building blocks to innovate the healthcare industry.
Right. That is a very quick summary. Thank you. Yes. When you say assets, we're talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking about buildings.
So we're talking about primary care assets. So these are basically GPs, general practitioners. So these are your day-to-day family doctors, your bread and butter entry point when it comes to healthcare. Because these are sustainable and obviously also an industry whereby it doesn't need to be compete over because everyone needs primary care.
Right. Yes. And when things like or something like COVID happens, in actual fact, what happens is those primary care units become more desirable because more people have to go visit them, which means, for right or for wrong, the turnover there is even greater, and that's where these kind of assets are so great, right? Is that they're really foolproof in terms of if they are structured and run the right way, they can continue to generate money pretty much forever.
Yes, correct. I like how you put the way that it's structured properly. Because
Right.
there are possibilities also that a lot of primary care assets are run poorly. Because you need to remember that most often the people who start primary care assets or run primary care assets are not businessmen, are not shaming the doctors or anything, but doctors are generally want to focus on basically giving out the best care that they can. So business is not in their primary purview. So obviously a lot of these primary care businesses suffer because of that.
Right. Yes. And what you guys excel at and where you really come into your own is your ability to look at one of these assets or more of these assets and identify where it is that they can streamline things, identify where they can really improve on turning over profit. And you're very good at very quickly implementing those into existing running businesses so that they can immediately start to see an uptick in how they perform, right?
Correct. That is 100%.
Great. So look, I know how much work that you are doing. I get to speak to you in the back end and I get to hear just how many hours go into what it is that you guys are doing when you're thinking about the project, when you're thinking about assets, when you're thinking about obtaining assets. One of the main questions everybody always raises is how many assets do we have? I mean, you guys have already grown very, very fast for a project like this. I gotta say, I'm incredibly impressed with how fast you've moved. And I was even more impressed last time we spoke that you turned down an asset because you went through it with a fine tooth comb and found that there were some discrepancies with what was happening in terms of the books, and it made you move on to something else. And I think that's, to me, where people should really focus. And it shows your strength in leadership and experience within the field that you're able to not only identify that, but make the hard decision to say, it's great on paper, but it isn't for us. I think that's going to really help you guys have longevity, and I think it stands out as really someone who has that experience. But tell us a bit about how much work is going in, how many hours you're putting into all of this, what it is that you're doing in the back end to make sure that KERC is a success. And of course, let's talk about other assets if there are any.
For sure. As of now, we have 3 assets running. Definitely, I've shared most of them with you, the details of them with you. So it's just a little bit of like how we're gonna, give it out to the community. I think you'll be
Right.
sharing some of those today as well. And
Yes.
a lot of work goes behind in terms of just making sure that it's sustainable long term. Because obviously we don't have the largest of treasuries here. So we need to
Mhm.
ensure that every single asset that we buy right now, as of now, it's top tier and in a sense where it can sustain and it can grow quite exponentially. So we, instead of using a very quicker approach that we would have wanted to, because there was a bigger target of what we're trying to raise, we are always in a place where we are sustainable. That means that no matter what happens, we will always be able to pay up. But the difference is that we won't be able to grow and expand very quickly. I think that is the key difference here. That's why we're always going to be raising for our assets. And that means what's going to happen is that we are always going to put development not as the priority at the quickest, but more in terms of like growing the number of assets we can to hit that level where we can not worry about the assets anymore and essentially just focus on the development side. So this is where also that where we see the growth of KERC will grow exponentially. And people who, I guess, joined me very, very early on during the AMAs, during the conversations, will sort of have that understanding that, look, this is not a project that will essentially be boring. This is a project that gets exciting over time, because what we are building and what we are developing, we believe will eventually send our token value and what we are building way above. Because obviously, when you start talking about these traditional assets, what we can also do is basically approach very traditional funding methods to basically fund ourselves and to grow ourselves. And there's also a lot of traditional mechanisms that allow us to grow. So if you can read between the lines in terms of a little bit of what we're doing, I guess some people can sort of some people have approached me on that. You can sort of start catching in terms of like what we are building towards, because there is a mini exit on the other end, on the traditional side as well, that will give the crypto side a very exponential growth. So people who are selling your tokens now, or who are worrying about, oh, my ROI, yeah, great for you. Do that. We create environments where we allow all of that, but definitely some exciting things are coming. But on my end, I guess right now we're just really busy on this last quarter, trying to bang everything out before the year end when everyone just closes their books, because we are sort of moving towards the focus in the traditional side, while in the meantime keeping an eye out for a few more assets. So right now we have enough reserve funds for at least a few more assets, but we're being very cautious about it. Because we want to make sure that every asset that we acquire, we have enough runway to also grow it and to sustain it as well. Because obviously there might be issues, and we always want to be careful about that, because so far we have no issues with all assets, and we just want to make sure that we keep that momentum rather than make it fall into a mistake.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important, is to tread carefully. So, I understand people's desire to have you guys expand as quickly as possible because it means more coming through. But as you rightly said, and I think it's great to pick up on this, is that this is a project that has that huge potential, and therefore it gets more exciting the longer you're in it. And people that are jumping in it, it's a really difficult thing perhaps to do in an environment where we're surrounded by tokens that will pump and dump, within hours, to really adjust the thinking towards sustainable, consistent returns, and returns that can grow, quite exponentially as you guys grow. And I think that's where the excitement can really come in. Now, one of the things I have seen asked several times over is, how does the portfolio look? Can we see one of these assets? Are we allowed to see where they are? And it's not for understandable reasons. I understand why, especially within healthcare, you don't release certain information. But one of the things that I think was very important to press you on a little is, do we have any ability to see any of these assets? Can we see that there is one? Can we see what you're working with?
Yeah, for sure. I think the easiest way is to come on the ground, because
Right.
the issues that when we're online and stuff like that, if I were to like give out some like I would say more location details and stuff like that, things could get a little bit iffy. We're advised to be really, really careful because of the direction that we are heading traditionally as well. We want to make sure that a lot of these assets are protected. So, however, on the other end, if you are currently in Malaysia, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to give you a tour and let you see behind the scenes in terms of a lot of what's happening and how all of these things work. Because I think once you are able to sort of go through that process, it's very easy for you to see what we are building and head towards the direction. So yeah, this is actually an open invitation.
Great. I mean, it's very rare that a project will give you that kind of, and a project founder will give you an open invitation to go and have a look at the assets, and especially if they're close to Malaysia, go and meet you and have a look at how you're operating, and see how everything is being set up. For those that perhaps can't make the trip, they're going to be frustrated and say, well, we won't get the opportunity to see what it is that you guys have been building. So I pestered you quite significantly. And I think if anybody wants to take a look at the community questions section, one of the things that we're now able to do with KERC is give you guys a glimpse into what one of these assets looks like. It's going to be an idea of what it is that KERC is working with, what it is that they're going after, the kind of structure that they're looking at. So if everybody wants to take a look at the community questions, is this your standard kind of operating business? Is this a standard practice that people can expect to see in the future, as and when updates might come along?
Hopefully not, because right now I think a lot of the issues with our legal team is that they're also trying to work their heads around how to sort of navigate information out into the DeFi world, as well as keeping that privacy that we want to ensure that we protect in the traditional side. Because as we grow, we are also going to start bringing in a few bigger players, and when those time comes, we want to make sure that we always protect those bigger players. And as we said before, I think to some big players, like if you are interested in coming on as a bigger player, please feel free to reach out to us, because we do have other systems and other structures that can sort of cater to you in that sense.
Right. Yes. I think it's interesting that you always say we are going to be bringing on bigger players. You're leaving the door open for further bigger players to come in, but there are conversations I think that you might be having that none of us are aware of, that of course may well mean that those players are thinking about and looking at you guys very closely and are ready to pull the trigger. One of the other things that people might be looking at is, right, am I too late for KERC? Should I have got in already? Did I lose the opportunity to grab up some of these tokens? Now, at the moment, if they want to pick up a token and they want to participate with you guys, it's only through the OTC, right?
As of the time of moment, yes.
Right. And currently, I think there's a bit of a discount on some of your tokens, if I'm not mistaken. I know a lot of your community members always jump in and like to say to us, hey, there's a nice discount. You guys perhaps want to take a look over there. People are inevitably going to be drawn to the price of a token. I can see that there's about 1,300, for example, at 99 cents. People are always going to be drawn to the price of a token. Do you have any thoughts on as and when people might start to think and see a bit of an increase in that token price? Or are you still saying, look, don't necessarily focus on that too much? Focus on the fact that we're able to be consistent.
I think everyone's going to have a different thesis to how they sort of want to exit or how they want to invest. And I'm not going to sort of, I'm never a fan to sort of put a gate on that. So I'm always a fan of saying, look, you do you, and we are going to do us. Because as long as we focus on building and making this a success, everyone would win at the end of the day. So if you exit early and you basically sold your tokens early, ROI earlier, great for you. But you're going to miss out on what we're building on. So for us, we're always going to focus on making sure that we succeed at the end of the day, so that everyone will succeed as well. Because I think once we start putting the development things in place is when people start seeing the value in KERC. And it's very easy for a lot of people right now. And we also understand that everyone's a bit more cautious in the DeFi world because of how much they've been burned personally as well. They want to make sure they ROI. So I guess I have to put this in, not financial advice, but once you start seeing what we are building behind the scenes in terms of the more traditional side, you will start realizing in terms of like why the value would start heading towards upwards, and also the different structures in place for people to sort of play with that.
Right, great. Can you remind me, what were the perks of jumping into KERC, pre-sale? I know that there were some that you had. Can you remind me of what those perks were?
Yeah, so the pre-sale was basically because we wanted to allow people to come in with the earliest point with the highest level of risk and a faster time frame to get your ROI in. So that's why we were dropping an ROI of nearly 200%. That means it will basically twice, 2 to 3 times your portfolio, depending if you compound your KERC tokens. That's why that would be the main difference between the OTC, because the OTC, you won't get that airdrop bonus of KERC.
Right. Okay. So the airdrop bonus is something that people should really be interested in, especially people that are looking at you guys having long-term growth. So let's talk about any other opportunity that people might have to get in. is there ever going to be another chance for people to get in at that level?
Yes. So as we are restructuring and reorganizing our timelines, because we are definitely going to be updating our website towards the end of this year with everything new and everything spanky as well, white paper as well. With that comes as well the hard launch. So this would be your final opportunity to get into one of our sales with the airdrops. So this would be the final sale that we were doing on DeFi. After this, we will be I would say, sort of moving away from the airdrops.
Right. Okay, great. So people are going to get another opportunity to get in and get the airdrops, which is going to be huge. That's a massive opportunity for them. Now, let's talk about if there's going to be any perks to getting in. Are you going to be running any kind of competitions? Is there something that you guys are going to be doing to make it sweeter for people to jump into KERC?
Yeah, so definitely we discuss about this in terms of like what would be a good, I would say, giveaway for community. Uh,
Right.
because the last time we already reserved 6 seats for people to basically fly down to Malaysia to see the assets, to basically be part of the auditing team. So we thought,
Mhm.
hey, why not? Let's give another few more seats. I think we sort of discussed the details, and you will release the details in more specificity in a bit. But we are basically going to fly another 4 more people down. Instead of doing all this time, you're just basically going to come and experience what healthcare has to offer in Malaysia. So we're giving you a free health screening, comprehensive health screening, basically to sort of sort you out as well. So you either come worried or leave worried.
Right. Either come or to leave word. Yes, I like that. So yeah, just to recap, it is something that we've been discussing as the Pillars team with you in the back end. And one of the things that we were keen to do is really twist your arm and give a few more of those opportunities to people. So there is going to be an opportunity as and when people want to get into the next and last sale that, and we'll finalize all those details and release them to you, of course. But there will be 4 trips, expense paid trips down to Malaysia to get that free healthcare screening that is going to be able to be won by people who jump into KERC. There are going to be, certain criteria that need to be met, including a minimum buy, of course. But just so everybody knows that people that do jump in and meet those criteria will be able to win one of those flights down, and that's for 4 people, which I think is absolutely massive. I mean, it's unheard of in this space as is. It's a huge thing to be able to offer people, not just in the free health screening that they get, but just the opportunity to go and meet a project founder in this space who's taking this space seriously. And I think offering people this opportunity, it's not just, of course, a great giveaway, but it's a way of you showing, actually, we take you, the investor, very serious. And the way of showing our gratitude and showing you how serious we take you is to be able to fly you down, show you what we're working with, and give you all the information you need to know that we're not going anywhere and we're not going to suddenly disappear with your money.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely we are always trying to tread this careful line of balance of transparency. And always, we always get held back by our legal team to sort of be like, hey guys, be very cautious about what you share and what information you sort of give out. And we're sort of always holding back our I would say ourselves and holding back the gun. And honestly, the best way is like just come and meet us. We are very happy to meet you as of this time moment, because I guess that's not like a crowd of people waiting to meet me. But
Right.
as of this time moment, definitely happy to sort of meet you guys and everyone.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I think, as word gets out, I think people are going to get very excited by that opportunity. It's especially to be able to go and see what they've invested in. Okay, so let's talk about some more stuff. There's a ton of conversations that we've been having in the back end, and we've been really doing what we can and working very, very hard to support you guys, because the Pillars, obviously, with you as a partner, we believe in what you guys are building. We think what you guys are building is truly innovative, and it's one of those projects that we feel is important to really get behind and show the space how things should be done. There's a lot of conversations that you have to go in various directions, and of course, one of those thoughts and one of the directions that was a potential was a DEX, and there'll be people saying, well, when are we going to launch on the DEX? How are we going to get onto the DEX, etc.? And I'm sure a few ears have pricked up now that I've said that. Do you want to give a bit of a breakdown as to what's been discussed in the back end and what people? I know you can't name any names, but what people can expect from you guys and where this is now headed?
Yes, so definitely when on the very, very early stages of AMEs, we always talk about how we want to always allow people to enter and exit as well as easy as possible. We never like the concept of locking up your funds, even though we do need that process because when we're purchasing assets, we can't just liquidate the assets like immediately. So we want to always make sure that we have a locking period for those assets. But on the other end, we also want you to be able to leave and enter at a very easy pace. So what that means is that obviously a DEX was in the conversation. But as we grew, we were realizing that a lot of what we needed was going to be very limited by a DEX in a sense, and we never really entertained something bigger. So I guess the big alpha here is that very soon we will be listing on the CEX, and we are in the last final stages of the conversation of that. It's just finalizing a bit more of the structure because I think now that I mentioned the word CEX, a lot of people are going to start fearing, oh no, our tokens are going to pump and dump, our tokens are going to be wiped out in a sense and stuff like that. What I'm going to say is that just always remember that our payout price is rubber band to the par price and it's always going to be based on our OTC. The CEX is just basically a place where you can essentially either come in early or basically move along with the market because what we are also building on the back end, as I mentioned before in the earlier AMAs, is that we want to be able to allow our users, real life users who are transacting in our clinics to be able to transact in KERC token. And one of these steps require a large volume on the trading floor. And this is where we sort of needed and saw during the development planning to be in a place where we can move that. So the reason why it's taking a long time to list on the CX rather than just any other people just pay the price and go is because we are negotiating with a CX who is very interested in it and very interested in helping us grow. What this means is that they are very committed to help us grow in terms of token value and as well as grow our community size as well. And this obviously has a lot of moving parts to it because they are definitely in the camp of supporting us rather than dumping us. And this is rare to find. So please be patient with us and let us sort of iron this out because, as I said, I don't think anyone wants us to go into a CX and get dumped to the ground.
Right. No, I agree. And one of the questions that I noticed in actually your Discord yesterday was, what happens if we do another raise through token sales? Is it going to dilute the pool? And they were worried about dilution on the OTC. And I think what's great about this is a listing on a centralized exchange supports that. And when we first had discussions about this, and one of the things when we were moving to our new Web3 model, it was we outlined that we were going to be having high-level conversations with centralized exchanges, and that our pillars partners were going to be supported with whatever we can support them with. So one of the things we were keen to do is bring to you a partner, which a centralized exchange is. And again, I'm not going to name any names, but bring to you a partner that, as you rightly say, is interested in your growth. Someone who's excited, someone who's interested in you guys growing the right way, having longevity, being able to be consistent, and really having something here that can not just succeed, but really outperform anybody's expectations. And I already see people saying, and it might be the next question is when listing. But as you said, John, I think the key here is to be a bit patient. It is coming. The conversations are happening in the back end. I can assure you of that. And I can say that from what I've heard and the conversations I've been lucky enough to sit in on, the excitement is both mutual in both directions, and this is something that can be a real asset and really support KERC moving forward. So this is absolutely something to get excited about. And like you said, if anybody does want, you don't want to restrict anybody. If anybody wants to get out of KERC or they want to sell their tokens, this is another way of doing it that kind of almost offsets against that dilution, right?
Yes, definitely. Because I think one key thing is that when you're on a centralized exchange, you also have the day traders who sort of see where we're heading. And as we are also releasing information on the traditional side of what we are building and the development of that side, that also increases the valuation in terms of what our whole company holding is going to look like. And I think when you start seeing news about our project, so our Aquinas, they look at this. When you see maybe, for example, Solana, when they start putting in news about new development and new structure around their, I would say, infrastructure and systems, the token price shoots up. Because obviously, when you hold a token, there's more value in this infrastructure. And this is where KERC is heading towards, because I think what a lot of people don't see is that not only about the payout, but the development in terms of what we are doing behind the scenes. So because of that, we believe that obviously, I don't like to say this, but maybe the token will move, because we are opening ourselves into a channel where people believe in the token price rather than ROI. So it's a different crowd of people over there in a sense. So that's I would say gives you an opportunity to sort of exit as well on a maybe at a comfortable pace, maybe at a later pace on a higher point. So it's a different variation to what we are doing.
Right. I've only got a couple more questions because I know it's very, very early for you, and I'm sure you want to go and have a coffee and some food. I had a very interesting conversation with somebody in our Discord yesterday in relation to KERC, and one of the things that we spoke about is how difficult, well, they were suggesting how difficult it is to digitalize data, especially within governments that already have an infrastructure. Certain aspects of that government don't want to share with other aspects of it, so that raking data becomes quite difficult. And one of the arguments I put forward is that where you are now and where you are based and where you're building, they're actually behind the times in terms of how this infrastructure is set up. You've mentioned yourself before that a lot of it is down to pen and paper. How excited
Yeah.
should people be that the data transfer is where you really want to focus your energy and attention long term, and the ability to build it from the ground up is massive for you guys because you can start building it the right way?
I think this goes back to the core structure of where we see KERC being able to shine. And the reason why we started with primary care assets, because at the end of the day, healthcare data is liquid gold at this moment, because every patient that walks through sort of gives you an actual calculation to projection for any facility to where healthcare is heading towards in terms of the next 5 to 10 years. It sort of gives you an idea in terms of what's happening with your population. And this sort of helps you, I would say, restructure your healthcare, I would say, budget for your country in that sense. And also for the insurance payers that are able to sort of create new policies and stuff like that. So healthcare data is very valuable in this scene. It always has been and always will be. And the main reason why I would say governments are very hesitant to sort of allow this play and allow us to sort of grow in that direction is always because they do not want one company to sort of monopolize the whole scene. And the standpoint comes from an ethical standpoint. The issue is that you don't want to be able to allow a big giant, because even you imagine, for example, if SoftBank decides to just come in and buy up all the data, and now they become the I would say like what the kingpin of all healthcare data whenever someone transacts. That would be unfair because now they would basically drive up the price of everything because of that. So the governments are always very careful when it comes to healthcare data. So the difference of what we are doing is that by buying primary care assets and basically running primary care assets, we are indirectly starting to acquire our own patients. Because when our patients come on board with us, we essentially have access to your health data with your consent, and we are basically also going to pay the users back if they do decide to share their health data with us. So this allows us to start monetizing, and the user as well to start monetizing. And this is where I would say the key development and the exciting parts of KERC where we are coming towards. So because of that, it is very, I would say, easy, and it's very, I would say, not worry-free in terms of how everything is going to be structured, because especially when we are talking about putting health data on smart contracts, basically we're just blockchaining your files, and that means it's your keys and it's your data, and you choose to opt in to share with us or not. And this means also that we also introduce and onboard a lot of traditional people towards I would say, the Web3 model and introduce them into all of this infrastructure. And if you can read between the lines as well, this is also definitely a way where we are also introducing a lot of wallet holders as well, because we are also going to be building our own wallet at the end of the day. So every patient that sort of comes in gets a wallet immediately, and they are able to transact in other projects, other I would say crypto stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. There is a lot to unpack there, and that would be a conversation that we have another time because I don't want to keep you too long. But I love the fact that you're calling information liquid gold, because it absolutely is, especially within the healthcare system. And you have a plan, and you have the platform to be able to build from the ground up and really do this the right way. And like you say, the end result is that you're going to increase wallet amounts or people that are holding the token, and really having a listing on a centralized exchange is part of that wider vision. And it's a stepping stone for you guys to be able to use to really launch yourself forward. So I think at this point, it's a massive deal for you guys. I think it's going to be absolutely huge. And it's been great from our point of view to be able to be a part of that process, to be able to hear that process, to understand that process with you, and really get to grips with what your long-term vision is. Because I think when people start to see all of the cards turned over, they're going to be very, very excited about what the future holds for you. And that's without even thinking about, of course, that you're still consistently looking to obtain assets, consistently paying out with those assets. And I think it's a baseline of 1.5% a month. And you guys paid out quite a significant chunk, given how young you are in terms of life, but quite a significant chunk to your investors already. So that's all really exciting things.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for taking this space seriously enough to bring something that shows that you're taking it serious. I think that's what the space has been screaming for. I think that's what investors have been screaming for. And I think as you guys progress, more and more people are going to have you on their radar. We know we discuss things in the background. You and I had a discussion today. One of the things that's going to happen now is that there's going to be little bits of information that will be dripped out to the community, that perhaps is going to be streamlined in a sleek, fresher, newer look version of KERC for you guys. That's going to be exciting when that comes down the line. And I think ramping up the communication and the education is going to be key. And really getting your investors right now, the current investors and people that already are looking at you, just as a call to arms to say to them, don't be afraid to talk about KERC. Don't be afraid to bring people into the Discord, be it this one, be it your Discord, send them to your socials, and ask questions. You guys are always excellent at answering questions. No question is off the table. Educate yourselves and find out if something like this is for you. And I think if we do that collectively and we start educating one another collectively, there's no limit to how far this can go.
Yeah, definitely. I think a big chunk of it is because we are a very lean team, so we don't have the, I would say, capacity to, like other projects, to just be on Discord because
Right.
like we have things to do, like real work to do, and we need to make sure that we do those things, and not just be on Discord just to answer questions and nothing gets done.
Right. Great. We're going to start the giveaway now, and I'm going to remind everybody that KERC is also the largest contributor to the Pillars portfolio. And of course, the Pillars portfolio is discussing exactly what we just mentioned. It's a call to arms. It's an exchange of value. It's giving back value for value. One of the things that you can earn is the KERC token. So if you're excited by anything that you've just heard, and of course, there's been some major alpha points that have been dropped, and we'll recap those in the chat. Just by communicating, asking the right questions, educating yourself on KERC, and getting the message out there, you can earn PXP, which is our Pillars portfolio points. And once you get to a certain level a month and you're eligible, we reward the value that you've brought to us with some KERC tokens. So that's also exciting. We're creating KERC holders for you at the same time and getting the word out there. John, it's been a pleasure. Is there anything else that you want to cover that I haven't already?
I guess let me just go through our list. I don't think so. As of now, at this time, I'm happy to see where I can I will be a little bit more busy this final stretch of the year because I'll be traveling back and forth to sort of meet institutional players and building up the groundwork part. So do bear with me, guys, on Discord in a sense because I'm not jumping in and out of it so much. That's the main reason why. While the team is busy looking for last few assets, I'm working on the next future parts of the plans as well already. So that's the reason why, in terms of like, it's so early for me right now. That I have to take this call, and I don't really have other times to sort of jump on the call.
Right. I'm going to let the community know that at some point before the end of the year, I am going to absolutely get you and pin you down for at least 45 minutes for a conversation. It might not be a live conversation. It might be a recorded conversation at a time that you can relax and you haven't just woken up and it isn't crazy early in the morning. And we can perhaps give one last exciting update before Christmas hits. But yeah, that's something to discuss over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, you guys keep building. You're working extremely hard. My hats to you because you are constantly on the road grinding. You're constantly meeting people. You're constantly high level important conversations, all for the betterment of the project. So really keep it up, and it's really amazing to see someone leading the way within the DeFi space.
Yeah, thank you for your kind words.
Okay, John, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let everyone else go. Of course, to be eligible for the giveaway, you have to be in the KERC Discord. So jump over there now. We're going to drop the link in community questions. Any questions on all of the alpha that has just been dropped by John, please don't hesitate to have a conversation with us here or within the KERC Discord. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon, John.
You too. Pleasure as well. Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure. Take care.
Take care.